Welcome back. As mentioned, our guests today are Misty Curtis and Chris Finley, both business owners in Panama City, Celebration Place in Misty's case. Chris owns Skater's Choice in Parker. We're calling it Panama City, on the east side of Panama City. Science, technology, engineering, and math. What got my attention mainly when you guys came to talk was the fact that you are teaching these, for all practical purposes, STEM programs at the skating rink.
Yes.
Misty, using your education as a teacher, and Chris, you've got that facility. You got my attention, Chris, when you said that you used skating, the dynamics, the engineering part of it, even the audio portion related to STEM subjects. You were in Marietta today presenting to some of the Jackson County School Board people or school system. Tell me what it is that you're doing. I told you I was going to introduce you to some of the people here in Washington County from the school district. Mm-hmm. When you come, what is it that you actually talk about to those STEM teachers or maybe the principals, even hopefully superintendent of schools? How do you actually present that to them?
Well, we actually have a little bit of pre-planning, and that's some of the information that we dropped off today. The teachers themselves gets to choose their lesson plan. This program has like 6 to 7 different types of lesson plans that covers different subjects. Roller skating, music, and math, for example, is one. Friction and gravity is another one as it applies to roller skates. And they get to choose that, and they can actually customize it a little bit if they're teaching something in their classroom that they want to be a little more detailed with. And Misty is the one that would, add that in or take that out of the lesson plan. So once we know what type of lesson plan they have, they've scheduled their trip, then we prepare, for that lesson, and then the skating part. And the skating part is always the same. We really support kids getting active and moving. And so we want to, I'm usually the one that's out on the floor, that's floor guarding, playing the games with them, getting their heart rate up. And that's right after Misty has done like a 45-minute lesson along with an activity. The lesson is just an overhead of the subject, but then she does an activity that lets them actually be hands-on. And that's where you're picking up those concepts of STEM, is they get to do hands-on before the lesson's over. And then as soon as the lesson's over, they go into the roller skating portion of it. And they're there for about 3 hours.
I believe I became intimately familiar with the gravity part of that lesson. I still probably have some bumps and bruises from my skating days. Gravity was not your friend when you're in the skating rink. Misty, obviously you were educated to be a teacher. You do some substitute teaching. You like teaching. Mm-hmm. How did you meet Chris, and how did you end up formulating this plan that you would then go ahead and teach those STEM programs?
I met Ms. Chris at B&I, Business Networking International. It's a networking group where we meet once a week, and we're in Panama City.
Let me stop you there. Business Networking International.
Mm-hmm.
When I was still in media, radio and television in the Panama City market, there were leads groups that were associated with the chamber. Is that similar to a leads group where a business comes into town, somebody may meet them, this group gets together occasionally, weekly or whatever, and if you happen to sell television and they're looking for radio or outdoor billboard or something, you get to refer your friends or other people in that group to that business? Is that the way that works?
It's similar to that, but it's not a leads group, it's a referral group.
Okay.
So I'm not handing you a piece of paper that says this company is new, but I don't really know them, you should stop by there. It's not like that. I met the owner of this new business. Here's his cell phone number. He's looking for advertising. He needs you to call him.
You've already drilled down. You've already got some intimate relationship with this entity.
It's a lot more specific, and it's a lot more likely to get you business than a lead.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody can give you a lead. You can drive down the street and get a lead, but actually knowing somebody and giving a very personal referral is what B&I is all about.
And how long has that been in Panama City?
About 10 years. I went to my first meeting when my 10-year-old daughter was in an infant carrier, and I've been in it ever since.
Okay. And who actually organized that? I mean, what did you start it?
No. I was at the first Visitors Day, but it's a franchise, and it's actually owned by a lady named Karen Ellis, and she's in Tallahassee. But there are franchises all over the place. There's a franchise in Pensacola, and they branch out. So the lady in Tallahassee, she owns 3 or 4 groups in Tallahassee. There's one in Panama City. There's one on the beach. There's one on 30A. There's one in Destin. I'm not sure where her line stops. But
so how does she make her money? It cost you to be a member?
Yes, you have to pay an annual fee.
Okay, well, how much is that?
$465. I think it's similar to the chamber annual fee. It's not too much different, but we meet every Tuesday, and then we have local fees to pay for our venue where we eat and we have breakfast, and it's a very structured thing. Like we go in there and it's 90 minutes, and every minute is accounted for. You say certain things at certain times, and it really is just to maximize the benefit of being a member and get you back to work. So
yeah, huge difference. I think the leads groups were centered around alcohol, generally in a restaurant or a bar.
Yeah.
I mean, and I get it. It was a more of a
social.
casual. Yes, absolutely. And it was really more of a reason to party. Not unlike the chamber, to some extent. Any organization, people go into it for their own reasons.
Sure.
They stick around if it does what they want it to do, and they don't if it doesn't. So, well, that's intriguing. So, so the BNI, Chris was already a member. So you met each other. You found out what she did. How did Chris already have the STEM program in place?
yes, she did, and she had a STEM educator, but she wasn't able to continue to be the STEM educator, so she was looking for a new one.
How does she stack up against the one that you used to have?
Excellent, 100%.
I've known Misty, I won't say all of your life, but a good
lot of
portion
it,
of it.
yeah.
And good family, certainly a good work ethic. And if hearing you talk about Celebration Place, your mom certainly, and your dad, and I mean, just you don't know anything but work. I am a big fan of you and people who want to work, because the worst thing that you can say to me if I ask you how you're doing is, "Oh man, I'm so busy. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do." That is what God created us for, to be busy, to work, to make things happen, to do things. That's why He gave us skills. So I love that part of it. Tell me your reward, aside from probably getting paid, for teaching these classes. I know it's great. I can say firsthand the same thing. 11, 12-year-olds. I mean, it's a wonderful age group. They're like sponges. Talk a little bit about that part of it, the positive part.
Okay, well, I have 4 kids, and I want my kids to be productive parts of society. I want them to go have a job that they love, and a lot of the way they do that is by learning all the skills they can when they're in school, so that they know what's out there, so they can go get a job that they will enjoy. So, I think that's a lot of the STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math relates to everything in life. And if you can find ways to be really good at those 4 things, you can find ways to get whatever job you want. So, I always think of all the kids in the class as my kids. I want them to know everything they could possibly know so they can go out and be very successful and happy. So, and skating is fun. So why not go learn about how it relates to skating? And it encourages them. Some of them don't even know what STEM is. So sometimes it's an eye-opener.
Absolutely. And when you say the eye-opener, I had a young child one time say to me that, he didn't know anything about geometry, didn't care about geometry. Come to find out, his dad was a carpenter, or something similar to that, and he helped him. And I said, "You know all about geometry," and we started talking about it. And so you're exactly right. We use math, science, technology, engineering, and math every single day, all day, and some of us less than others, and some is not as much as we should. But at the end of the day, the STEM program has really been an eye-opener for me. It was really easy for me to lump all the young adults into one category, the one that couldn't make eye contact with you, who couldn't make change when you went to the convenience store that they worked in. And I admit that I was very, very jaded. I really felt that we were going down a very slippery slope, and that it was doom and gloom. Since I've been around this campus, Florida Panhandle Technical College, certainly since I've worked within that school district framework and get to interact more with the schools, every single day I'm heartened to see the teachers that we have, the talented, hardworking young students that we have, and the parents that are encouraging, sometimes with a kick in the butt. You've got whatever it takes to get them to that starting point, but that are encouraging those kids and mentors within the community. Do you bring in guest speakers, or is it only this formula now, Chris? Or would there be opportunity, if you don't in the future, to perhaps bring in guest speakers for particular programs?
Right now we're doing just the STEM lesson along with the roller skating, but as the program advances and becomes more part of the community, that's one of the things I like to do in the roller skating business, is make it part of the community, and the community feels ownership with it. Then I feel like that we could get business owners involved that would want to come and speak on behalf of their career and how it applies to STEM.
The man who comes up here and does our rocket camp, he retired from the Navy base in Panama City. He worked on some of the early rockets and moon missions and all of that stuff. And he brings to the table this wealth of information, and it just amazes me to watch the interaction of these relatively young children with him, and he doesn't cut them any slack. He'll ask them questions, and what amazes me is that they have the answers. What's the escape velocity to escape the Earth's atmosphere to make it to the moon? They know what that number is. Mm-hmm. I mean, these kids have been in these STEM programs now, many of them for years, and by the time they get to high school, they have such a leg up in that science world that it's no wonder that we've got kids from this general area in the Panhandle of Florida getting these great scholarships to FSU and University of Florida, all of our higher education surrounding us. What do you see the future, Misty? I mean, you've got to be very positive about what you're seeing. You've got to feel really good about what you're contributing. And where are we going? Do you see better days ahead because of these efforts?
Well, sure. You have to see better days ahead, especially when you have 4 kids. So,
well said.
Yes, I'm very optimistic, and I do think there are so many opportunities for kids to learn about these things. Not just, I mean, of course, this is my favorite opportunity, but, you know, Junior Achievement teaches STEM too. And that's why another reason I just think STEM is so important. And I think that they do learn. When you teach STEM, it's things they don't even think about. It's tapping things that they haven't even thought about. It's not just 2 + 2 is 4. It's thinking about how much you have to know just to skate. You have to know friction. You have to know all of these things, because if you're skating and you have no friction, you're never going to stop. You know, you have to know all of these different things, and it's just so simple. And you don't have to make it complicated for the kids, because that's intimidating. But you can see how simple it is to just open their minds to a few little things here and there, and then they're geniuses.
As long as you don't tell them that they're learning something, they're not going to have any kind of adverse reaction to it.
Yeah.
When I taught Junior Achievement in the high school, we would produce a TV commercial. That's what I brought to the table. We'd bring cameras in and lights, and would split them up into groups, and we had copywriters and directors and actors, and we achieved all of the goals of Junior Achievement, but we did it in the way that I was most familiar. And it was amazing how they responded. I mean, you know, they would ask me to come back again and again, and you can only do so much, but you have to engage the students, and that's the starting point. If you don't get their attention, I can't help but think that the skating thing, you're really onto something. Obviously, you bought into a franchise that somebody else came up with the initial idea, mm-hmm. but being able to use that as a way to get the interest and attention of these students. And then when they get there, you sneak up on them and you teach them something before they realize that they're learning. Uh-huh. And it's kind of like, you know, giving a kid broccoli for the first time. You don't tell him he's probably not going to like it. You know, you say, oh, if I got a treat for you, and the next thing you know, they're eating broccoli. So hats off to both of you. This is just a really heartening story. It's really doing some good. I'm going to be interested to have you back on the show sometime relatively soon. And plan to come back maybe on a fairly regular basis. Let us know your progress. I'd like to know how you make out in Jackson County, Washington County, Bay County, and what the interest level is on these schools on behalf of these school systems. We are going to try to hook you up with some of the contacts that we have. So, BNI or not, we're already doing some networking here without paying $465 a year to be a member. Thanks for coming up.
Thank you for having us.
It was so good to run into you on Sunday. You said you already spoke to your dad, Weldon, and told him that you saw us. I've always thought a lot of your family, so this is great. I'm glad to hear that you're involved. Chris, nice to meet you today.
Nice to meet you.
And best of luck going forward. It's Skater's Choice in Parker or Panama City. They're in the book, I'm sure, or nobody uses the book anymore. It's 411 on your cell phone. Misty, Celebration Place. Also, you can get their numbers just simply by Googling Celebration Place. If you're planning a wedding, if you're planning a special event, your rental business is such that I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff involved there for a meeting or a fraternal organization.
Anything. We even do all the chairs for graduation in Bay County.
Wow.
We have a lot of chairs.
A lot of chairs. Well, you always had a lot of chairs, even back when your mom ran the business, I know.
Yes.
And that's nothing but work. There's a lot of moving.
It is, but I have a good staff, and they take care of things.
And that's what it's all about. Thanks again, both of you, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our guest today has been Misty Curtis with the Celebration Place in Panama City, and Chris Finley with Skater's Choice. almost said it wrong again. We're going to have a blooper reel, no doubt about that. This is a story that really intrigues me. And if you've got children, if you care about kids, if you care about our educational system, this is something that we can all take advantage of, all take part in. If you know somebody who's in the educational industry, part of a school district, part of a school, and they are involved in the STEM program, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, check out Skater's Choice. This sounds like it's a fun way to learn, to teach kids without them knowing that they're learning something. At the end of that day, they've learned something, they've had a good time, they've had exercise. That's something we didn't even go into and that you pointed out. It's got my attention. Hopefully it'll get yours too. We'll be right back.